Now, Washington Mornings on the Mall. At AM 630.
8:37 on WMAL. Brian Neiman, Brian with you. Steve Moore joins us now. Editorial board member, senior economics writer of the Wall Street Journal. You know, it's tax season. I was just doing my taxes past weekend. Have you done your taxes, Mr. Moore?
I'm one of those people who wait till the last. By the way, 70% of Americans do their taxes in the last 3 days.
Is that right? 70%.
I believe it.
We are a nation of procrastinators.
Yeah.
Well, I normally do mine very early, but I actually had to I'm putting an extension in because I just haven't gotten around to
money
it.
Back, right?
Yeah, I'm in good shape.
You get a refund.
All right, so gas prices are obviously very high right now.
Yeah.
And I know there is a weak recovery going on for sure.
Yeah.
Can that recovery continue, in your mind, with gas prices around $4 a gallon?
Well, it sure hurts. There's no question about it. I mean, by the way, I don't know if you saw Paul Krugman took a shot at me in his column in the New York Times the other day.
He did.
I had said in my column that, when President Obama says we can't drill our way out of this crisis, I said he's completely wrong. We can drill our way out of this crisis. We have so much oil and natural gas in this country. It is really unbelievable. I just got back from North Dakota a couple of weeks ago. What's going on there is like the gold rush during the late, 19th century. North Dakota has the lowest unemployment rate in the country today. They have so many jobs there from the oil and gas boom. So my point is we can drill our way out of this. We should be developing our own natural resources, and Barack Obama is completely hostile to America's domestic capacity to drill for oil and natural gas. They're not doing the permitting.
He's going out.
They're not building the pipelines, right? So I think that Barack Obama deserves some of the blame, not all of the blame, but some of the blame for these high energy prices. And by the way, let me just add one more thing, if I may, Brian. Barack Obama said during the 2008 campaign, remember, he said, my energy policies will necessarily mean higher energy prices. Well, he delivered on that promise.
Yeah, the other thing is, though, now that those higher prices are here, and he's trying to run for re-election, he's going to the oil patch to make sure everybody understands he's really not against oil.
Well, it's so funny you mention that because I got a call late last night from a couple of my friends in Oklahoma who are in the oil business, and they say, can you believe the chutzpah of this guy? He's going out there to Oklahoma to say how rah-rah for the oil and gas production when everything that this president has done has been to try to put these people out of business. Remember, this is a president who wanted cap and trade, which would have been a huge tax on the oil and gas industry. He is proposing in his budget a $40 billion 10-year increase in taxes on the oil and gas industry. How can you be pro-production if you want to put higher taxes on the people who produce?
Yeah, that's a question I can't answer.
But do you think the Republican candidates are spending enough time on that issue? I mean, if you're saying, hey, we can do it. I mean, I've read other places where a lot of people are saying, hey, there's enough natural, energy in this country to set us on a great path of prosperity. Are they talking enough about that right now?
Well, first of all, Brian, on the second part of your question, it is absolutely true. You go to states like Oklahoma, Texas, North Dakota. North Dakota has the capacity because of hydraulic fracking and the new drilling techniques. North Dakota has more oil and natural gas than Saudi Arabia. So, yes, we can do this.
How about that?
I think the Republicans, the guy who actually has been on this message pretty consistently is Newt Gingrich. Mm-hmm. He said, look, I'll bring back $2.50 gasoline. A lot of people laugh at that in the media. I think he's absolutely right. If we go all the way, we go drill, baby, I think you're going to see, I think we have the capacity in the next 10 or 15 years. I'm not making this up. Within 10 or 15 years, the United States could be an oil and natural gas exporter, not importer, exporter. That's how much oil and gas we have. And this hydraulic fracking technique and the horizontal drilling they do, I mean,
it's
they now
amazing.
have the capacity. It just boggles the mind. They go 2 miles deep into the ground and 2 more miles horizontally, and they can get an oil that, 10 or 20 years ago was just unimaginable. So yes, we should do this. I think Newt is the one who's really been on this message that this is not just an economic issue, it's a national security issue. Why do we care so much about what's going on in the Middle East? Because they're the oil center of the world.
You're preaching my song. Amen, brother.
Hey, Paul Ryan is unveiling a new budget. I know he's going to unveil it more in D.C. He did write an op-ed in your newspaper, the Wall Street Journal. It seems like he's actually going a step further than the last budget that he unveiled.
Yeah, but by the way, I'm just so annoyed at Paul, who's a good friend. Why in the heck isn't he in this presidential field?
A lot of people feel that way. Maybe he'll be a vice presidential guy. Who knows?
You know what? He's on the short list. And I just think the world of Paul. And the guy is gutsy, he's daring, and he's willing to take on these tough issues that every American knows. I mean, we all know in our heart we can't continue to borrow $1.5 trillion a year and be a great nation. And Paul is the first politician in a long, long time who's willing to say, look, I'm willing to take on Medicare and Social Security and Medicaid and the big boulders of the budget, which means, everybody's going to have to make some sacrifices. By the way, that means people are beneficiaries of government programs, but we can't go on. We borrowed $5 trillion in 4 years. $5 trillion.
Yeah, I know, and the cutting. I mean, I think sometimes we get too much caught up in taxes, lowering taxes, which is fine, which I think most people would want. But the cutting of the spending is what matters more than that, because the Democrats can play games where, well, we'll cut spending or we can do things with taxes in order to get rid of deficits. But the idea is actually to cut the amount of government, to shorten government, to make it smaller. And to me, at least, what I heard from Paul Ryan yesterday, what I read from him in the new video that he has out, seems like there's more concentration on actually cutting spending in Washington.
Yeah, and this is the area where I think I myself, I think you guys, and I think a lot of conservatives who were, part of the Tea Party movement got caught up with the Republican rally that they had in 2010. I don't know about you guys. I'm disappointed with the Republicans so far. I mean, they really haven't cut much, and that's the reason they got elected. So Paul is getting Republicans, I think, back on the message. I think if the Republicans are going to win in November of 2012, they have to run on an agenda of getting this debt and this out-of-control spending under control. And that's why I think, Paul, the idea of him being on the ticket would be fantastic. Nobody knows this stuff, and nobody can articulate the case for fiscal responsibility better than Paul Ryan.
Yeah, and who's ever putting his videos together, they do a great job.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. I mean, that guy is a video star.
Yeah.
But, I will say this, though. If Barack Obama is reelected, the one thing people aren't paying enough attention to is that the biggest tax time bomb is going to detonate on January 1st, 2013, in the history of this country. And that, in my opinion, would completely obliterate the U.S. economy. I mean, this recovery, to the extent we have one, is too fragile for a massive increase in capital gains taxes, dividend taxes, small business taxes, payroll taxes. Folks, President Obama is telling us what he's going to do in his second term. He's going to raise all those taxes if he's reelected.
That is the expiration of the Bush tax cuts?
Yes, but don't forget the alternative minimum tax goes up, the payroll tax cut expires. All of these things happen at the beginning of next year. I mean, imagine what this is going to do to the stock market if we have a 60% increase in the capital gains tax and also a tripling of the dividend tax. I mean, my God, it would be a disaster for the economy.
All right, Steve, great to have you on. As always, we appreciate it very much.
Great information, though a little depressing.
Go Paul Ryan. Go.